When attached, the ends can be pulled through the reed and heddles, saving a great deal of time. That simple twist is not as easy as it looks. 2.5 hours later, it is only about 1/3 of the way done. Leftover Ikaat yarn is made into loops to attach the heddles to the loom.
రానంటలేం కానీ అంత వెనక వస్తే ఓ 10 నిమిషాలు పావు గంట కూర్చుంటాం అట్లా.
Then the warp is taken outdoors to make any repairs where there is space to stretch the length out fully. Village children are willing helpers. Borders are arranged. Neighbouring weavers stop to chat as they wait their turn to use this outdoor area. In Putapaka, there is a real community spirit of cooperation. The warp, after repair, is then folded up neatly to be carried to the loom. The back of the warp is stretched out the length of the loom, attaching to a pole. Even tension and perfect alignment are important. The front end of the warp is attached to the breast beam of the loom. The heddles have been hooked on and the reed is set in place. Brushing behind the heddles prevents the starched yarns from sticking to each other. This pit loom has a fly shuttle that makes the weaving progress rapidly. The weft, which is the yarn woven across the warp to create the fabric, still has to be tied and dyed. But this doesn't happen until the warp is on the loom and the plain heading is woven to ensure that accurate measurements can be taken of the design placement. A string is stretched across the reed and the design units are marked to create the guideline. Rambayama winds weft yarn off the cone on the floor, through a tool onto the weft frame. This frame, used only in the Nalgonda region, is an improvement on the older rectangular frame from Chirala. Each nail represents one of the 15 units in the design module. From the peg at the back to the nails on the rim is the weaving width of the loom. Sufficient repeats of the design are wound to enable the entire warp to be woven. The guide string is attached from the central peg to the outer rim and used while marking the threads to ensure accurate placement of ties. Tying of the weft takes just as long as tying of the warp.
చిన్నగా
Then dyeing is carried out as for the warp. Dinner seems to be cooking too. It is no wonder that Rambayama is getting aching shoulders.
This is meant for blood.
What a beautiful Ikaat sari. Now all untying will be finished. After washing and drying, the weft is carefully reeled off the frame. Ramalu gives Rambayama a helping hand. Bobbins are being wound for the weaving shuttles. Ramalu checks behind the heddles to loosen any yarns that are twisted or stuck together with starch. Broken threads can be mended as the work progresses. When Ramalu is weaving the plain fabric borders, he can go very quickly. A stretcher is used to keep the fabric the correct width.
అట్లా ఉంటేనే అవుతుంది.
When weaving the central design, the weft has to be carefully checked to ensure correct placement. However, there is always an unavoidable slight movement of yarn that creates a feathered edge to the motifs. That feathered edge is the characteristic Ikaat look. The sound you hear is Ramalu sucking the thread through the hole in the shuttle when he changes the bobbin. A master weaver like Ramalu can weave the full length of Rumals in 4 or 5 days. However, the average weaver could take several weeks to complete the piece. When the weaving is finished, the fabric is starched.
I think.
Well done. It's wonderful.
How fine and transparent the rumal is. Before the rumal is finished, floors are mended. The Telia Rumal has a tradition that suited the times when it originated. This traditional textile technique has had innovations through the years to help speed up certain steps. We have seen some of those improvements. The warping mill, which eased the warp preparation. The fly shuttle has made the weaving faster. The introduction of chemical dyes eliminates the 17-day treatment for the colours. But something is lost. The richness of natural methods cannot be duplicated with modern dyes. One part of the process cannot be changed. There is no mechanical way to do the tying of resist areas. This remains a time-consuming task. Double Ikaat requires many times the effort of single Ikaat. The added precision needed for the warp and weft yarns to intersect has made this a seldom attempted skill, one that is proving to be uneconomical in today's society, unless people learn to value it highly. At last, this traditional Telia Rumal is finished, but hopefully it will not be the last to be woven in this village. Now you may better understand and value the enormous skill required to make this cloth. Next time you see a cloth with the characteristic feathered edges, will you recognise that it is Ikaat? Will you think of the weavers and the great effort that went into creating these precious and fascinating textiles?
This temple ka name Markandeya Swami temple.
Weaver's Temple.
Markandeya.
Markandeya.
Pakadar